Good morning, and welcome back to Jody Lewis Creations. In today's video, we are making some shabby chic wrapping paper. Now, my lighting isn't great. It's 7:30 in the morning. The sun is kind of trying to come up, but I'm having my coffee and need to get some stuff done this morning because we are having kind of a Thanksgiving dinner today, and I have to get back in the kitchen. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, you would have seen my cranberry post that I made last night. Okay, so what we have here is just my roll of painter's paper, and what I have done so far is I have very heavily sprayed this with spun sugar and with picked raspberries, the Distress Oxide sprays. I sprayed it with water, taken my heat tool to it, and that way, yeah, it'll dry. That's why we take our heat tool to things, right? I've only had a few sips of my coffee. I mean, really, I'm really tired. Okay. So this is a lot of fun, but it does take some patience. So yesterday I made a different piece. I gave myself a 45-minute timer because I was roasting garlic, and I was like, okay, I'm going to run up and make this while I'm roasting garlic. So I'll show you the other one. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. If you're my friend, that's my 12 days friend, look away. Look away. Okay, so this one I did, it's very grungy. What colors did I use? I think I used mustard seed and, hang on, I'll tell you. Do I know what I used? I do know what I used. Yeah. Mustard seed. Yeah. Mustard seed spiced marmalade. Oops. And, I think I used walnut stain or vintage photo. Maybe that's vintage photo. I don't know. Anyway, and then I stamped over it using a combination of vintage photo and ground espresso archival inks. Then I splattered with white ink and black acrylic inks and got this. So I love it. It's a really fun piece. The goal is just to have them a piece of collage fodder that they can use. So I will wrap a present in these, and then they'll have some collage fodder that they can use in their own work. So what I'm going to do next is, now this is, you know what I'm gonna do, hang on. Okay, so it's still wet from the last, you can see it's still wet, and I have to move this down toward me a little bit so I don't spray everything that's on my table and crinkle. Love it. All right, so now I have my festive berries all shook up, and you want to shake them for a second because, like, whatever the oxidation stuff is, it sits in the bottom, and like you won't hear the shaker ball at first until you start getting it moved around pretty good, and then that shaker ball you'll start hearing it. So I'm just coming in and spraying, and ideally you do this in your spray box. You don't do it on top of your table, but I'm doing it on top of my table. And then some water, just to activate that oxide, and I can move it around. Okay, and it looks like that's like really red on top of the pink that I had on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry it, and then we'll see what color that is once it dries, and it'll move around. I can try, you know what I'll do? I will go ahead and restart a segment so I can speed it up to music. That way, if you're new, you can see like what the oxide sprays do as you dry them. Now this is pretty wet. It's going to take a while for it to dry, but this is such a fun, I say quick. It's not really quick. It's not fast, but it's a really fun way to dress up some craft colored ooh, let's not dump everything in wet spray. Craft colored painter's paper, okay? So that was about 4 minutes, and you can see it's still not totally dry, and I'm thinking it's really pink now. So I really like the end down here where it's the spun sugar and picked raspberry. So I think I'm going to just come back in with a little bit of those colors and just try to lighten it back up a little bit. I mean, not a lot. It's fine. I mean, I like it. I like pink, but pink a little goes a long way for me. And so I was laughing because my other friend hates pink. And was it last year? I had sprayed some craft paper with some pink, or excuse me, oh, it was the Festive Berries, and it pulled really pink on the craft paper, and I was actually going to send it to her as kind of a gag gift, and I decided not to do that because we laugh about karma and the things that she ends up getting in the mail, and I thought, you know, I probably better not do that and put that karma back on myself. Okay, so I'm going to dry this again, and then hopefully we need something here. It looks like we don't have enough color right there. Okay, I'm going to dry it again. This time I'm going to pretty much dry it completely, and then do some stamping on it. I have to figure out what colors I want to use with stamping. Probably I'm going to do my old archival ink black pad because it's more of a gray, and get some, but we'll do that when we come back. But I'm just gonna get this dry and drink some more of my coffee, and yeah, but this is fun. This is really fun. I do encourage you to play, although if it's nice weather at your place, go outside and do it. If it's not windy, it's far better to do this outside. Okay, so about 6 minutes that time for that. So it just is a process. It takes a little bit of time to get through it, so it's not something that you want to try to do if you only have a few minutes. And then I forgot to tell you, I have the cardboard under here because of the heat of the heat tool. I really wanted to protect my map because it gets weird if it gets really hot if I'm drying something. So I just try to avoid that and just put something like cardboard because that's got, it's, you know, it's corrugated. Let's see if I can get that. Anyway, it's corrugated cardboard, so those ridges in that corrugated are going to disperse that heat. But again, just make sure you've got preferably a heat-safe surface. Or if you're doing it outside, you know, if you're doing it on concrete, it's not going to hurt anything. Or even your wood deck, although don't do it on a wood deck if you have a nice wood deck and you don't want to get ink all over it. So, still drinking my coffee. So now we want to ink or stamp this. And there's a couple places like where that is still a little shiny. And I don't know if it came through. I was using a paper towel and kind of dabbing up some of the spots that were just pretty saturated and not wanting to dry. And that's okay. I don't mind those spots. And I think it came out really neat. I'm really glad I added the extra spray. I think it toned back that red because I really wanted it to be more of the pinky look. So, what we want to do is, what do we want to do, Jody? Okay, this is my old black archival ink, and what we're going to do is just use some random stamps and start stamping. So I will speed this up for you as well. I am not worried about getting clear stamps. And that's part of being on this, stop saying, this board as well, is we are not getting super clean impressions, which is what I want, because I want it to have like that mixed media feel and imperfectly perfect and just a lot of fun. And so that's what I'm going for. And so I'm just going to well, push it and try to get an image. Okay, so maybe this old archival ink is not going to do the trick. I don't really want to throw this away. It's inking my stamp. See, I'm getting ink on my stamp. Just try again. Oh, there we go. Okay, I don't have that much energy for that kind of work this morning, so let's do something different. But I do want the nuance of the black. So I just got my VersaFine now. So I don't want this much black. I'm going to use second generation. You guys don't want to see my table this morning. I started to clean it up and then I got sidetracked. Well, not today, but the other day. Yeah. Okay. Second generation. I have avalanche going on over here because I had to pile some stuff up to have room for this paper. The paper. All right. And you can do this for any occasion. I mean, it doesn't have to be Christmas. If you have an artsy friend, make them wrapping paper. If you're sending them Happy Mail or something, wrap their Happy Mail in a little piece of paper that you have, excuse me, that you have done some stamping off on, because it's a great way to give something that can be repurposed, you know? And I like that, so yeah. Okay, I think that's probably good for that, because I'm going to come in and do some other stuff. So I don't want it to just be, ooh, how about let's not spill coffee this morning, please, thank you. All right, so that's that. I'm going to clean this up. I will keep stamping, and then I will come back when I'm done stamping. Okay, so the stamping is done. Look, I still have coffee. I'm trying, you guys. I'm trying. So that was approximately 10 minutes, okay? I'm just trying to give you an idea because I'm speeding this up, and I tend to forget to pay attention and say like, oh, well, that took me this amount of time. So that way, if it's something that you're going to try, you have kind of a realistic expectation of the time involved in making something like this. And I find that if I just ink stamp, and don't overthink it, I get more random results, and I like that. It's when I'm like strategically trying to place, you know, that's when I get into problems. So I'm really happy with the Hickory Smoke. It's a nice subdued color, and that's what I was after. I did get some pretty, that's a new ink pad, so it's really fresh. And so I do have some pretty strong images in a couple of places. I don't mind that, nor do I mind the black actually being kind of bold in the background, because what is going to happen is as we start splattering, it's going to tie that black in. So that is the next step. So what we're going to do is, you know, I just used a stamp block for this because it doesn't take much ink, okay? Now, my dropper on my white ink is broken. And so it's a little bit more difficult to get the white out than I would prefer. Oh, how about get where you guys can see what I'm doing, right? It doesn't take much. I mean, you just need a couple of drops. Now, it looks like more than that because of the way that I'm doing this, but you only need a couple of drops because you're going to water it down. And I just happen to have a fan brush. You know, this was something, I don't know if you guys remember, I allowed myself to buy, was it 2 years ago now? And I love it. I try to take really good care of it because I want it to last. Now, here's what's going to happen with this white. It's going to interact with the oxide sprays. So when this dries, it's going to not be white, but it's still added interest to our page. Okay, and this is just one of the things I love. But white gesso will pull the oxide. White acrylic, I have found, pulls it as well. It's just the nature of the oxide, or the inks. You know, they're water reactive. So they do. I mean, I suppose that it's a little bit less with white paint. You don't get as much reaction. So I need to be really careful how I say that and not misguide you. But just play with your products. Different products are going to behave differently. Now, I'm not going to go to the bathroom just to wash the white out of this. I'm going to just put it on my paper towel and spray it because I'm going to the black now. And then once I'm done with all of the splatters, I'll go wash my brush out really good. So with black, I just went a little bit. Ugh. It's so hard to open and my hands are really sore. Oh, see, I don't know if you can see before I do the black. Let me lift that up. Hopefully you can see it's already reacting and turning kind of pink, which is kind of fun. I really like it. Now, if I wanted like pink, I could use acrylic paint and do the splatters that way. So, I mean, I guess the white paint doesn't react as much. So I definitely encourage you, if you don't want it to react with the oxides, use paint. And this is just acrylic ink. This is Artist Loft, which I believe is Hobby Lobby, but it's just acrylic ink. I don't have the acrylic ink in Liquitex. Although I did get an email from Liquitex yesterday and I was like, oh, but I'm like, no, use what you have. But they had some really, really pretty colors in ink. And I'm like, oh, if there was like a crafting Santa, oh, that'd be great. Oh, heavy, heavy, heavy. All right. So that's a little heavy over here. You'll see, but that's okay. I'm going to get it dried out. And see, that was too much black ink, but that's okay. So again, I'm just going to wipe off my stamp block. You can't see what I'm doing. I apologize. Some of this is just really hard to manage in the space that I have here. Get the majority of that black ink out of my fan brush because now I think on this, I don't think I'm going to do gold. I actually think I want to do silver because I just want it to be like a little bit of shimmer and not an excessive amount of shimmer. So again, just a drop. So just a drop, some water, not a lot, just a little. And you'll find, depending on the consistency of the product that you're trying to splatter with, some don't require as much water to splatter and some do. It's just, oh, and know that when you splatter, it goes all over everything. So if you're new to splattering, again, I encourage you to do it outside or have a splat box or something. So that way you're not getting your inks everywhere like I am right now. But full disclosure, I'm still in my pajamas, so I'm not going outside. And I think it's like 40 degrees out this morning. So I'm not going outside. All right, so I'm gonna get this all dried and then we'll come back. I'll tear it off and it will be ready to go in the gifts pile, okay? Get all that yumminess off there. All right. and I have to go wash my brush out. You guys, I love when I think I'm filming and then I'm not filming and I think I'm done and I'm doing the wrap up and I'm like, oh, why isn't my thing on? Okay. So you can see here, it's done. Oops, sorry. I hope that doesn't make you dizzy. In this spot here where the black is, you can see it kind of oxidized. It had, it was just too much there. So I mopped it up and it allowed the oxidation to come through. So I thought that was a really, really cool spot. And then down here, try to go slow. On this end, where those big silver dots are, they were wet and not drying, so I mopped those, and then it makes like a little crater. And I know that that's a technique that other people have used and talked about, but I love doing that. I think it's a way to add another bit of interest. So you can purposely heavily splatter, start to dry it, and then as the outside dries, that center is still wet, dab it with your cloth or whatever, and then it creates like that cratered effect. It's just another way to add more interest to your pages. So I'm very happy with this. I still have a couple spots that need to finish drying, but overall I'm very pleased with it. So now I have 2 pieces of custom wrapping paper for my 12 days of Christmas gifts. I hope this inspires you to get your sprays out and play your stamps. You know, this is just a lot of fun. You know, if you don't have the actual sprays, you most certainly can do the smoosh technique. So just, you know, your block or, you know, whatever, you can squish and then spray it with water and smush around. I would demonstrate that, but I have to get going here. I've got to go make some more food for today. But yeah, just play. I mean, you learn by playing. So you're, now I'm trying to remember, I think it's inks first, then oxides. So if you have like a color of ink, but you don't have it in oxide, put that color of ink down first, because I think that the oxide sits on top of the ink. Maybe if I have time for another play before we leave, that's something we can play with, but that's like coming up in the back of my mind that's how you're supposed to do it. But anyway, there's a lot of things you can do. If you just have the re-inkers, you also can just put it on your thing, get it wet, and smush. I mean, the smush technique is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. I highly recommend this. It's a lot of fun. So get inspired and take some time out for you today. Set yourself a timer if that's all you have. Say, I'm going to spend an hour and I'm going to do a sheet of paper or whatever. So yeah, anyway, thank you for joining me. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you for your encouragement, your kind words. I'm really loving all the positive comments that I'm getting. You guys are amazing. And just thank you so much for being a part of my channel, part of the Jodi Lewis Creations community. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. And I just love interacting with you guys. Sorry for the shadows. I have a floor lamp over here. The sun's just now peeking out. So hopefully the shadows weren't too bad in this video. Oh, speaking of shadows, as we start to travel and we're in the RV, just know there's nothing I can do about the shadows when I'm filming. It's part of the setup that I have. It's something I have to make do with. I do try to do the best I can with my lighting, but you'll see. And if you followed me last year, you'll know what I was talking about. All right, well, have a wonderful day. Bye.